And we would do them every beach vacation. We'd go on beach vacation every year, and we would sit down and just talk about, like, what are the things that we value in our family, and who are we as Howards,
Yeah.
and, things about faith and all that, and it was fun as a kid because we all got to contribute to that, and so I did grow up, understanding that it's important to be intentional about your
Yeah.
values and what you wanna
Yeah.
teach. But I do remember a specific point in our life, and, I actually wrote about this in my book, Strong and Kind, because there was a specific point in my life where I was a young mom and I was at a women's Bible study, and someone asked, like, "What are the values you want to pass on to your kids?" And I remember thinking, like, "Oh yeah." Here I am trying to like figure out whether or not they need a pacifier or what age I need to potty train or, all those like details that seem so important at the time, which really they come and go, they pass.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
values that you put in your kids, that's the thing that's going to last. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I need to be really focused on, not just kind of like the details of everyday life. And I remember at that time just the Lord impressing on me strength and kindness. And I came home that night and I talked to Willie about it. I said, I think that these are the values that I want us to kind of like focus on for our family. And he agreed. And the strength part was just strong, was just like, I think I'd lived long enough to know that, like, okay, we need to be strong in this world. Like, it's not easy.
Yeah.
There are going to
Yeah.
be hard times coming. And I just always think about for our kids that I wanted them to have just like really deep roots of their faith, that they would be this giant tree that would be strong and the winds would come and blow and sometimes it would blow off some leaves or they might sway a little bit, but their roots would be so strong in their faith
Mm.
that they would never fall. And so that was strength. And then kindness was just how I wanted our kids to interact with others and how we wanted to be in our home. We wanted to be kind to one another and not just like nice, but actually
Yeah. Yeah.
kind and to another level that involves compassion and empathy for other people and how we treat. So those were our two values. And then I do remember another really specific moment in my life that I just kind of dialed it in even more. And a guy had come to visit us. He was from Willie had this was a crazy story. Willie had like met him, driver in a like Uber or something like that. Willie met him and just kind of somehow connected with him and invited him to come, him and his new wife to come stay with us for a few weeks. So they did. And I remember he was telling me about his like faith journey and how he'd grown up in the church and had lost his way for a while and had just come back. And I said, "Why do you think you lost your way?" Because my kids were about to be into that. Like I was having some that were starting to be in that age of like
Yeah.
choosing
Yeah.
whether or not they were going to choose their faith or they were going to, it was just their parents' faith and they were going to move on. And so I asked him, "Why do you think that happened?" And he said, "Well," he said, "all the adults that around me said they valued one thing, but they lived like they valued something else."
Wow.
And it was
Wow.
like gut punch. I was like,
Yeah.
"Okay, we cannot say we're valuing one thing and live like we value something else." And I
Wow.
think we do that in small ways by what we talk about, what we tell our kids are important, grades
Yeah.
or sports
Yeah.
or they have the latest outfits or if we have the trendiest purse or the right car or whatever, are are we putting, like, what we value into practice and showing them what that
Yeah.
looks like by kindness and generosity and
Yeah.
hospitality
Yeah.
and those kinda things. So I remember that being a real specific thing for me and being even more aware of, like, what I'm actually living. Am I living what I'm saying I value?
Right. Well, little did you know it would literally be put on everyone's TV to watch. You know what I mean? You're like, it's one thing to be like, I just lashed out at my kid, and then apologize the next day. But you're like, there's cameras in my face. And so I think y'all have done that really, really well. And I even noticed, like, little did you know, too, you would have hate and you would have the internet just like twisting your words. And I love watching Sadie respond, your daughter, when something goes wrong or when someone's really unkind to her, because it's a really beautiful moment of that strength and kindness. Like, y'all do it
Aw,
really, really well. And
thank
I think
you.
about the political climate now and just everything we've been through the last month or two of
Yeah.
just like grace and truth and going like, I can see back in times in my life when I was all truth and not very nice. And then I was all grace and forgot to stand up. And so I think strength and kindness is
Yeah.
one that we could all write down today and be like, oh, that
Mhm.
applies to all ages, all
Yes.
kids, every family that
Well,
love
and since
Jesus.